Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 31 of the Diz Unlimited podcast, coming to you live from the studio that dreams build. I am Rhino, and I'm going to be leading this Disney discussion today, along with Hannah Anderson.
Hello, hello.
And Craig Williams.
Oh, hoy, hoy.
Now, before we get started, I want to remind everybody that this and everything that we do is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. They are experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney vacation. When you book with them, it costs you nothing extra on your trip, and you help support the channel and all the content that we produce. So check them out, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com, for a free, no obligation quote today. Also, a big shout out to our Patreon supporters. We couldn't do it without you. If you want to learn more about how you can get different exclusive Diz team content, you can head over to patreon.com/DizUnlimited. And that does include this live post show that we are going to do, which, you guessed it, it immediately follows this show. If you're watching this live, welcome, bienvenue. Those of you watching and participating in the chat, if you wouldn't mind popping over and hitting that thumbs up button, making sure that you're subscribed to the channel and clicking that little bell, you're going to get notified whenever we have new videos come out. All right. There it is. Deep breath, everybody. Deep breath. We're back. We're back from California.
Yeah.
And you guessed it. This week's episode is going to be heavily focused around Disneyland, and we got a ton of great Disneyland trip planning questions from our Patreon supporters that we're going to answer. But since we've been off for 2 weeks and want to recap some of the biggest news stories before we get started. Sorry, I'm a little thrown off. I forgot we lowered my monitor so Craig could read it at the table, so I feel like I'm looking down worse than if I were reading on my computer, so it's throwing me a little bit. If you're watching, that's what I'm staring at. There is not somebody over here like signaling to me, stretch it.
It's me with cue cards.
Stretch it.
Yeah.
So as you probably already know, Disney announced Tiana's Bayou Adventure will open at the Magic Kingdom on June 28th, 2024. The attraction will use a virtual queue in its opening days before transitioning to a normal standby line, and it will be a it will be a Genie Plus Lightning Lane selection, not an individual Lightning Lane attraction. Cast members will be the first to get a preview of the attraction, while Disney World pass holders can get a preview on, ready for it, get out your notepad, June 13th, 14th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and the 20th. Don't you dare try and get one on the 15th to the 19th because it's not an option. And the two DVC previews are happening June 12th and the 19th. So there you go. You can try for that one. You have to, so here's the thing about this, which I feel like is kind of unique this time or whatever, is you have to have a park pass to Magic Kingdom on those days in order to try and get into that virtual queue at 7 a.m. And then I believe it's everyone who has a park pass for any park after that can try to get in at the 1 p.m. virtual queue. So that's how it's worked in the past whenever there's been virtual queues, like for Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind, Tron, I believe still operates that same way, that it's a 7 a.m. and then 1 if you're in one of the other parks, because obviously park hopping. But I do believe you have to have the park reservation to be able to do that, or have entered the park for that day. I could be wrong about that.
7?
Am I wrong?
Well, I think you just have to have the park reservation.
So you do, but you don't have to have come in yet,
7
right?
a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely not. You kidding me?
No, not 7 a.m. I'm talking about the 1
the
1
1
p.m.
p.m. No, you have to be in the park.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's caveat.
Well, then I guess you better get your butt in that
For
park.
1 p.m. you do. Unless that's changed like really recently.
Yeah, like I couldn't make a Guardians one right now on my phone, right? Since we are live at 1, I could have tested this, but I didn't. So.
Well, let's find out. I'll do it.
I'll be honest, I would love to jump in and help more with the conversation, but I was not paying attention as I was fixing your TV, so I have no idea if you gave any accurate or inaccurate information, but I know you gave information.
I'm going to say it was all accurate because it usually is. It's not. No, I don't know. And I didn't open my chat, I realized, too. So usually people love to jump in there and tell me when I'm wrong, so I was hoping for that.
Here's the deal. If you're just finding out about the previews now, you're already too late. Because the sign-up for DVC, I believe, happened on the 16th, so you're way too far gone on that one. The D23 Gold member event sold out within, I think, 10 minutes.
That's
so
a paid one, right?
You're gone. Yeah, no chance on that. Park reservations for Magic Kingdom sold out, so you can still get them for other parks on those days if you're an annual pass holder. Because, you'd get it for another park, and then you just have to make sure that you're going into Magic Kingdom on the day. And if you're lucky enough to get that 1 p.m. drop, which you might not be, you might not even get the 7. There's no guarantees with any of it doing it in that way. So, if you're just finding out about it now and thinking, how can I strategize and come up with it? My best recommendations, wait until June 29th or any time after.
I tried to get a Magic Kingdom reservation, and it, like, at the moment they announced it, and it was like the system wouldn't let me. It was like trying to buy tickets on AMC whenever they go on sale for movies.
It was like when I finally got a time that showed on my queue that day, it was already at 2 hours. And I'm like, do I care that much? Like, granted, I am going to sound a little spoiled in this. We do get to see it at a media preview. But other than that, I'm like, it's going to be around for months and months. And like with the virtual queue, I know people hate the virtual queue, but I also love the virtual queue because if you're fast enough, if you're lucky enough, you get that. It's all easy, smooth sailing from there. It's on the days that you aren't able to get it that it's kind of disappointing.
Well, and I don't want to waste my time.
Right.
Yeah. I'd rather be able to go and do something in the park that we paid to be in than just stand in the line for 3 hours.
I mean, the lines are still. I mean, virtual queue, you're still standing in line.
Yeah.
So it's not like. I mean,
but you never
maybe
know
not 3 hours.
You never know what it's going to be. You'll have those days where for Guardians, you get your virtual queue for that, and you walk in, and the line is all the way wrapped around to the point that it's almost out of the building, and then you'll have. If you were lucky enough to go an hour later, then there's no line at all. And you're like, wow, they should just open this up for standby because no one's riding it right now. So
good point.
It's all over the place. And I think that's honestly partially why Disney is not going to use the virtual queue with Tiana's for too long. I mean, I could see using it throughout the entire summer months because it's going to be popular from the time the park opens till close. But if you haven't traveled during the cooler times of the year, so November through February, what's beautiful about water attractions like that is they'll open up with the park, but usually until it's warmer in the day or that sun really comes out and starts to make things a little hotter, no one is riding these attractions.
True.
So will Tiana's popularity overtake the fact that no one really wants to ride water attractions when it's like 50 degrees out in Florida? I'm not sure, but I
say maybe.
I would say no. I think it's gonna. There is nothing worse than being wet and freezing.
True, I know.
It's what I love about Disneyland and how I got to do their Splash Mountain so many times before it closed. And that was the summer, the last time I did it. No, I went in the first thing in the morning, that D23. So it was September. It was super hot outside. It was in the 90s. And in the first hour of the day, no one was riding Splash Mountain. So I just went on it, I think 5 or 6 times until I broke my camera. And then I stopped riding it and had to leave.
Sad story.
It was sad. Well, it all worked out. I'm still here.
But the camera is gone.
Yeah.
The microphone,
Rest in peace.
The microphone
Rest in power.
was gone.
The microphone.
So, yes.
Yeah. Just around the river bend. Yeah, I tied it into a Disney movie. Country Bear Musical Jamboree is going to be opening at some point this summer, and Disney shared a first look at new costumes for Bunny, Bubbles, and Beulah, channeling those Barbie movie vibes that we all love. The outfits, I assume, will fit the new theme of the show, playing homage to Nashville's Opry-style shows and featuring reinterpreted Disney tunes in different country genres. I think they look like somebody who went away for a while and then were not allowed to talk that they had work done.
True.
Oh, you look rested.
Hey, you know what? Nashville has the best plastic surgeons. Like, if you ever want to see a good facelift, watch the CMA.
I thought Sarasota, Florida
awards
did.
Or whatever. Yeah, I know. No, I think they look great. I am very excited. I got a Mississippi connection to Country Bears now. Mac McAnally is helping with the songs, and I'm just very hyped. They look great. I want to wear this. This is my Halloween costume. There, I said it. You guys want? Which one are you guys going to be? I'm Beulah.
I'm partial to Bubbles.
Craig.
I'm going to be none of them. I'll let you invite. I'll let you invite a third person.
Okay.
I'm
comment below if you want to come.
Maybe Jackie. Maybe someone else from the team. I don't know. I'll be going as something else. But no, I'm happy to see not only with the changes to the show that, of course we're getting the refreshed Disney songs in different genres, but it is nice to know that the characters are getting a lot of care put into the actual wardrobe and really making it feel like a fresh show, which it's not that, I never had a problem with the old style, but
we know.
But who knows? It also comes down to how are these animatronics going to function? Is it going to? There's so many amazing things that Walt Disney Imagineering right now is doing, and if they're also just throwing new costumes over old animatronics, and it's not as impressive, it's also like you're trying to doom this show a little bit more.
Well,
you can give us a little bit of an update
in the
Yeah,
video.
they look refreshed.
For now. I'm sure they're getting TLC, and it's going to be a little bit better, but we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, I mean, I am excited. I'm excited for this too, but we may have to wait for Bears, or as I like to call it, a Friday night. Am I right? Terrible. In the meantime, you can head over.
Wait, hold on one second. Who wrote that? Was that you?
He made a bear joke, and I rewrote it. Because I did think it was actually funny, so
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Anytime we're talking about bears, I'm going to make a funny bear joke. But you can head to Disney Springs this week to start seeing Disney Dreams That Soar, the new nighttime drone show running May 24th to September 2nd. The show has scores from Disney soundtracks and an original song composed just for the show. It's going to run 9 minutes, and it'll be shown twice each night, with showtime scheduled for 9 p.m. and 10:45 p.m. Characters shown in the early preview include Orange Bird, Peter Pan, Dumbo, Wall-E, Eve, Baymax, the Death Star, my favorite Disney character, and so much more. But I am curious because I didn't really see the Christmas show. Craig, do you think this looks better than what you expected in terms of like what the Christmas show looked like?
Well, so there's a lot of differences in that obviously the Christmas show was almost a decade ago now at this point, and also with the Christmas show that was like HP's, I think their original drones, and drones have come a long way since then. So yeah, this is completely different. This looks absolutely incredible. I can't wait until this weekend being able to see it in person finally after just feel like a month of kind of starting to get super excited for it. This looks absolutely incredible. Like the Christmas show, it's hard to even describe it because it was so basic. It was like if we line drones up in a tree-ish like shape, then it's a Christmas tree. And it's like, well, that's not really like a star isn't impressive, but seeing these characters move around shape, seeing that Death Star, seeing Baymax fly, all of this stuff looks incredible to me. And I think it's going to make Disney Springs even more unruly and unmanageable in the summer. And I'm shocked that I get like the drones will have to charge and stuff, so that probably has a lot of impact in it, but only 2 times a night, that doesn't feel like it's going to be enough for the people that want to see it.
For a 9-minute show.
Yeah.
You were like, you can't cram a couple more in there? Yeah. Like 2 an hour? Something? I don't know. But yeah, I don't know the logistics of it. But it looks really cool. Who knows if the demand is insane? It could be a thing where they're like, all right, we're going to have to add another one.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
I just feel like, too, Disney Springs after 12 o'clock completely, like, shit. Like, it just shifts.
Excuse me?
I almost said it, and I stopped myself.
Did.
And I did not say that. I know. I think it just, like, it's a different demographic once you hit that midnight hour. A lot of stuff is closing.
The pumpkins, people turn back into the pumpkins.
Yeah,
it just like at that point it feels like there's just people walking around aimlessly, and if they're not shopping, if they're not finishing up their last drinks that they're walking around with, what are they really doing? So
coming out of movies.
I feel like and coming out of movies.
True.
And usually heading straight to the garage. So I don't know. I feel like the only way to do it would be to try to do one earlier, but it's
also
not nighttime.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say.
So they're kind of stuck where they are.
Yeah, this time of year, it's tough to do any of those shows too early.
Yeah. They just need like faster rechargers or however they get power back into the drones quicker. Like that's the way to add in, and then get one more that's like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and do it that way. But I'm no drone person.
Well, me neither.
Me neither. Who said I was?
I don't. The way you drone on sometimes, I think you are. Except
you know
that
what?
would be me.
I'm going to get a small drum set to go with my slide whistle, so I can go. Although that feels like I was starting the Pink Panther, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, finally getting us excited for Disneyland. Disneyland Forward was approved hours after our last show. Can you believe it? And now we wait for the next 20 years of our life for how that will completely change a good amount of what we'll be talking about today. But I am very excited about this. It was one of those things where we were out at Disneyland, I was actively like, I remember standing, or it was like at the rooftop, not rooftop, it's like level 3. It's not the roof. At the pool bar and the Pixar Place Hotel, and just kind of looking at where the hotels were and kind of like watching people drive on the road and being like, I don't think there's going to be a road here soon. Like imagining like how it's all blocked, and then I would look at the concept art and be like, okay, it looks like from Pixar Pier inside of Disney California Adventure, there's going to be an entryway, so this is how this stays inside of this theme park. Yeah. So it looks to me like that's how they're going to keep it encapsulated, but expand that park. But
when I was there a couple weeks before you, I was in the Frontier Tower for the first time, and I wasn't facing the Disneyland Hotel pool area. I was facing the parking lot down below.
Yeah, that's what my room was facing.
And Pixar Pier Hotel, and that was Pixar Place Hotel. Sorry, and I was just like, I'm staring at that, and I'm like, there is so much room here that is like, it does feel wasted on a flat surface parking lot. Like, and that's and if you think about it, it's like it also is, it just kind of is serendipitous thinking about how Disney California Adventure is just plopped on what used to be Disneyland's parking lot that was just it was the size it had to be because of how many people want to visit Disneyland, but you can use parking garages to add more space in that way. You can get so much more imaginative, and technology has only gotten better, and it's an exciting time for Disneyland in that way.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, the thing is it's like, well, when they built that Mickey and Friends like parking garage structure, and that was newer when I went, right? Or had they opened like a second half of it or something?
Yeah,
right?
I feel like that did happen during your time.
Yeah, I feel like on my first trip, I remember people being like, "Oh, well, now the structure," and I was like, "Was there not a parking garage here before?"
Yeah, I don't want to get dark with it, but I feel like it was, because I remember when there was definitely news about it, and then it's like, oh, and 2 weeks after it opened, a tragic thing happened with it, and then again,
still happening to this day.
Still happens. Yeah,
I was thinking about that when we drove by too. It was like kind of like this sad thing, but it'll be interesting. I mean, parking structure, they're gonna have to build another one, whether they do that in the Mickey and Friends parking or the what is it, the Pixar parking lot or Toy Story parking lot somewhere. But it is very exciting. It is one of those things though where it's that feeling, I have that feeling in my stomach where it'd be that night before Christmas, and you're just like, well, this is going to be the longest night of my life. How am I expected to sleep when I know this man in a red sack's coming with gifts? True. And now here we are again. And it's one of those where we're probably going to be like 60 years old by the time
That's what makes me sad. I start adding like 20 years to how old I am, or like how old my son is. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm excited to see it. And I think like, you were talking about California Adventure, the fact that they built that basically, or no, literally in a parking lot. And California Adventure feels like, that was one of the comments I had when we were out there. It feels bigger than I think it actually is. So I feel like Disneyland does this really remarkable job of like using the space that they have, and then once you're in the berm is what they call it, not on property, in the berm, you kind of forget that like, oh, there's
make a bad joke, sorry.
I know what you're doing. There's literally busy streets, and there's a CVS right down the road and fast food places and all kinds of stuff. You forget all that. So
hey, you almost answered question one once we actually get to that.
I was actually going to say, you almost tiptoed into it too for a second.
But I didn't get all the way in there. So no, but that'll play out good when we have our conversation in a couple seconds. We've got it. We're going to go back to just
feel the berm.
We're going to go back to saying bubble. I feel like the bubble's better.
Bubbles. All right, there we go. Maybe he should be Bubbles.
He is Bubbles. There you go. Thank you for volunteering.
No, but I do want to say too, like we are going to transition away from our news stories as Rhino's just saying, there's a lot of other little news stories happening in there. Like, yeah, we could get excited about Inside Out 2's preview that's coming to Hollywood Studios, and the TARDIS showing up at Disney Springs.
I know, the TARDIS is very exciting. I got to see it at Disneyland, and literally I'm glad I took that picture when I did, because it was gone like the next day.
Well, you never know where the Doctor's going to go.
That's right.
I
didn't even get to see it.
And the picture of them there, they were probably there at the same time.
They probably were.
I think they were there a little bit
They were there
before
probably
you.
for the premiere of the show.
Yeah, they were there probably just right there before you. But there's a lot. I know we got asked about DAS, too, because those changes started to take effect. But honestly,
when did those changes take effect?
I believe it was yesterday was day one for Walt Disney World, and honestly, none of the people at this table utilized DAS, nor would we be applicable to utilize DAS. So we have to wait till we get more information on that from people who do use the system and try to come to it.
I'll just volunteer like personal information. My sister uses DAS, so we used it out in Disneyland a little bit, and it didn't. I've used it with her at Walt Disney World, and if not, noticed a difference. But that was pre-changes, so there you have it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll cover it when we have someone who can actually speak on it, because otherwise it's just three idiots who are trying to give you advice and navigate waters that we've never been on without a map.
Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Okay, I do see in the chat, sorry, that there was a question about the TARDIS that is from the show Doctor Who, which is now a co-produced show with Disney, and Disney has the exclusive rights, I believe, in the U.S. for the airing. So it airs in the U.S. like Friday nights, I believe on the East Coast at like 7. And so all the new episodes are on there. If you're looking for the old episodes, they're still on HBO Max. But I recommend it. I very much enjoy it. It's been very fun. But let's move on to the questions. We asked the questions. Okay, first question we had, and I do apologize. We made a double post on Patreon, and we deleted one of the posts. I do have the other questions still, too, so I'm just going to double check at the very end while we're going through this to make sure we didn't miss any. But why is Disneyland so small compared to Walt Disney World? Just why? Look at that graphic up there.
Yeah, and we also these questions came from our Patreon supporters.
I did. I said that.
Okay,
I said that in the beginning too.
Okay, I wasn't paying attention
twice.
So hey, I'm not trying to push people to our Patreon, but they got to ask the questions this time around. No,
they asked the questions.
They are the ones to ask.
Keep it safe.
So why?
So
why is it so small?
Is it? Well,
no.
Here's the story about that. It's basically when they found out that Disney was gonna Walt Disney, heard of him? When he was gonna go and he said, "Hey, I want to build this thing," and people were like, "What?" And he started to do it. People were like, "Man, we should probably get some property over there. We should probably buy up." And so basically, it got landlocked. And they have what they have there. And so they said, hey, we want to build another Disney. I think what we're going to do is have to do it in secret. And so they made up like shell companies or whatever, right, to buy the Florida stuff. And they went through. And I forget, I just saw a thing about it where it was somebody who wrote for, I think it was the Orlando Sentinel or something, was the one who figured it out, that forced them to talk about it like 2 weeks earlier than they wanted to. But that's how in Florida they were like, where's a place where nobody is? Yeah. And they were like, there's this state called Florida. And in Central Florida there was nothing here. I mean, it was a lot of wetlands, and I don't even know if wetlands is actually technically the right description, but it was a lot of undeveloped land. I mean, Florida still very much has large swaths of undeveloped areas still. Yeah. But we owe what we have here in Central Florida to Disney,
Yeah, for the size that it has become. I mean, there was obviously Orlando was here. It definitely wouldn't be what it was without it. And I was recently rewatching the Imagineering story on Disney Plus, and they cover Disneyland before it was put in place and when they were deciding where to put it, because originally it was supposed to be whatever Disney park it was supposed to be right across from the studios,
right?
And that wasn't going to happen, so that's why they had to so that's why they had to venture further out. And it just was also that problem too, where once Disneyland came, they didn't have it. Apparently they didn't have a growth strategy in place, because that's why everything popped up around it, because people there was land to be bought.
Didn't know
it
was going to be a success, right?
Exactly.
Because
so,
there was a lot of people, like, if you go back and look, there was a lot of like, oh, this is an insane idea. This is going to fail. This is finally the thing, that Disney's going to crash on.
Yeah. And so it would have been great if they would have had that site to be like, okay, we need to buy more than we need. And then we're prepared for the future a little bit. And then it just becomes harder to buy back land unless, you're in a situation like, hey, I'm Universal and I got bought by Comcast and they want us to expand. So now they're going to rebuy back property that they originally sold.
They did it in secret too.
Then they did it in that way. But obviously harder with Anaheim. If you've ever been there, that would be just a nightmare. And eventually you hit residential areas that even more difficult. But beyond the size of Disneyland, I think it doesn't even just come into play with the actual physical size. People always ask, well, they have 2 parks versus Disney or Walt Disney World's 4 parks, and they have 3 hotels versus Walt Disney World's 22 hotels, 21 hotels.
I can't believe it's that many now.
And that is all completely true and accurate. But we also like to always remind people it's not just about what is on that massive plot of land. It's how they also utilize their small amount of land in Disneyland. So I went through the map to all the maps for the parks to look at it. And once again, I used my judgment on what's actually attraction, what's a ride versus what Disney considers, because, they consider each Main Street vehicle in Disneyland a separate attraction.
Yeah. Oh,
and I'm like, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
And they count, and Walt Disney World does the same thing with the railroad as Disneyland does. They count each stop as an attraction. It's one. You count one.
If the butt doesn't have to leave the seat, it's the same thing.
That's my opinion on it. So when I broke it down, Disneyland has approximately 40 unique rides. And then
both parks included.
No. I'm talking.
Or Disneyland Park has 40.
Park has approximately 40. California Adventure has approximately 24. So I put the final total for those 2 parks as right around 64. For Walt Disney World, I put Magic Kingdom at 32, Epcot at 19. Animal Kingdom at 13 and Hollywood Studios at 17, so approximately 81. So yes, over 4 parks, they do have almost 20 more attractions than Walt Disney World, but that's over 4 parks.
Right.
For 2 parks, you get 3/4 of the way there, which I think that's pretty awesome.
It feels like it when you're there.
I thought there was a statistic, though, that said Disneyland has the most attractions of Disneyland Park must have the most attractions of any theme park.
If you start counting every single Main Street vehicle.
It's got to be. What I'm saying is I'm doing it mentally wrong. Is that the park, Disneyland Park, has the most attractions inside of its park. More than any other park.
Compared to another theme park.
Yeah. Yes. Which is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but in my brain, I'm like, well, that means the Disneyland Resort does. But now I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So yes, it is. Disneyland is smaller, but when you really look at it, it is not as significantly smaller as it could be. And honestly, I'm going to say something. We're going to talk more about Good Neighbor hotels and stuff. I know that's another point of contention. Disneyland has technically 3 main hotels and 2 DVC now with it. And so, yes, they have far less hotels. However, the fact that you still have so many Good Neighbor hotels around that aren't always ridiculously priced, that keeps it in check. Whereas Walt Disney World, the reason why you can have all-star value hotels and moderate hotels now at $300, and that's the base, and it goes up from there with the pricing. That's because that's all on property and keeping it that expensive. So I'm almost half glad that Disneyland doesn't have more official hotels, because then that means they own more of that area and they can have it even more expensive.
Yeah.
So
and I think about the size of the hotel room you could stay if you stay in like Hotel Indigo or like Spring Hill Suites, and the walk from your room into the theme park to the Esplanade or the 2 gates, is less than the walk from your car and the parking lot at some of the parks here to the front gate.
Oh, for sure.
And you're paying less than you would at any, depending on the time of year, obviously. But you end up paying less than you would be paying at any resort at Walt Disney World. And they're pretty, honestly, I said those 2 specifically because we always check those 2 first, or the Hyatt House, because I like them. I think they're nice and clean, and they offer breakfast, and there's some of them do, and they're like the walk. So, and I feel good when I'm there, and it's like, so, I'm not Isn't that even a plug for those hotels? I'm just being honest.
No,
Yeah.
I do enjoy the walking. I know it's not everyone's favorite. I know some people are a little bit more nervous about the area at night, which I treat it like any other city where just mind your own business. Don't stare, don't look at, and it's like, and I hate being that insensitive to it, but I feel like that's like people get super hyper focused on what's happening around them.
Right.
Just walk.
You're also not probably going to ever be the only person leaving the park. You got to think like anytime I've left to walk to one of the Good Neighbor hotels, it's like you're surrounded by like 40 or 50 other people who are coming from the theme park too. So
you're not
walking alone. Yeah. So don't, if you're somebody who's like a solo traveler or just two, or you're worried about that stuff, you're not going to be alone. It's not, you're not, like making decisions on depending on where you are. If you're right on those main strips, it's right there.
Yeah, the only caveat of that is if Mary Jo Mulatto Willie from our old Disneyland show, she keeps you at Disneyland Park until 2 a.m. and you're the last people in there,
and security's
then
like, can you guys get out?
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Then you will be the last person walking by
for
yourself.
That. Dang.
You gotta, you go hard at Disneyland.
I don't know. I struggle to make it to the fireworks this night.
And you just
I rope drop to the end every day.
Yeah. You have Southern blood that infuriates me. So.
Well, it's made out of mostly booze, so it's probably part
that's
of
true.
it.
That's right.
Don't let it
Mama
match
got to take a
near.
nap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Booze and oil.
Well, so let's chat. Let's talk about the next thing, which is how many. I think this is a really good question. How many days would you recommend for a first-time visit? This was very much on my mind in this last trip that we took here because what I liked kind of about this last trip is I settle into rhythms sometimes. So whenever we're traveling for work out there, it's usually like a Wednesday to a Sunday or Thursday to Monday or something. So I'm used to being like, okay, we're coming in on a weekday. We have to, the 2 days on the weekend are going to be busier, but it's whatever. But this time I came in on like a Saturday. Like I got to Disneyland at the Disneyland Resort around like it was almost 3:00 because there was a delay in my plane and then traffic and stuff, and my room wasn't ready till 4, so I was like, well, I'm not going to go in the park right now, my room's almost ready. And it was one of those where like, okay, that first day of travel I didn't really do a lot. And so I had a full Sunday, Monday, and a Tuesday, and then I have a magic key, so I went in Wednesday morning for like 2 seconds, but it was one of those where I was like, this, and I had one of the best, most efficiently, like one of the best Disney days I've ever had while I was there, because I don't want to say how many attractions, but it was double digits higher than a lot. It was a lot. I did an insane amount of attractions, but I also didn't feel rushed, and I didn't feel like I stopped and was able to eat. I went to 2 parades. I watched fireworks. Like I did like everything.
You weren't just running.
Yeah, but it was a full day, and it was like, and I know that we do stuff for work, but I was like, I wish I had one more day. So I think for me, if it's your very first visit, and we're not counting the day you come in as a park day, right? If we're not counting that, I think it's 4 park days, I think, for sure.
Yeah. I would agree. So
non-travel. Those are 4 full park days.
Right. Yeah. So this is the first time I've done this where we took the super early flight, and so I was at Disneyland at like 10 a.m. So I'm like, yep, I'm going to the park. And that was hard, especially because I have my 2-year-old in tow. For me, the perfect Disneyland trip is 5 nights, 4-day ticket. You don't go to the park on your arrival day. You go, eat at your hotel, you go downtown Disney. That to me is perfect. I originally had a 4-day ticket and I upgraded it to a 5-day ticket because it's $40 more, and went on that Wednesday, and I felt like I needed it. And I mean, you brought up a good point. Like, one of the big differences with Disneyland is like, I do feel like overall the crowds are not what they are here at Walt Disney World, but the weekends are crowded. And so my Saturday and Sunday were less productive than my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So for me, 5 nights, 4-day ticket, park hopper.
I'm at that 3.5 to 4 days too. I don't have the same issue with if your travel day, you get in at 10 o'clock in the morning and you could be in the park by noon and it closes at midnight. That's still a very successful day in the park. So,
but something to pay attention to, because off season, sometimes the parks will be 9 and 10.
Yeah. And if it's that's a little tighter, but I can still get away with it. But in my opinion, the best way, I'm not going to say it because I know we're going to talk about rope dropping earlier, but you definitely need to have either the idea of rope drop or parking, going to the park until close in your plans. You need to have one of the two, if not both.
Need to. I think what's good if you're coming from this coast or a time change. Don't let yourself adjust. Ride that wave.
For sure.
I know people are like, you got to stay up till midnight that first day and whatever. And I'm like, I'm not saying stay late. And if you are, so here's the thing. If for us, there's like a 6 or 7 a.m. flight. Usually, it gets earlier and earlier. So right now, it's like 6 a.m. out there.
I was on it.
And you can be out there and in there. And when Craig and I go, that is very much usually what we do. And we go out there, and I do start to feel like very exhausted by the end of the day. But you do what you can do. But this time I tried that 12:30 one, and honestly, it worked well because I felt like the next day I was up so early because I went to bed there at their time, like, I don't know, it was like 11:30, so it still would have been like 2:30 my time. Yeah. But it was like one of those where I'm like, okay, I woke up at like 6:30 in the morning, and I was like, it feels like it's 10 a.m.
That's
so
great.
I was like, I can't believe I'm going to be in the park on rope. And I felt like $1 million too.
Yeah, everyone's just always different. Like I've now come to the point where
because I take Dramamine, it's hard.
Well, yeah, I know it's harder for you with that, but I know a lot of people are like, you can't take that nap on the first day because then it'll throw off your whole schedule. I'm now at the point where I'm like, if I give myself a 30-minute nap, it's not going. It's going to keep me up until midnight, 1 o'clock on that first night, and then wake up, at a good time the next day, and I'm right back in the groove with it. But before, I was always like, you can't take the nap. You got to trudge it out, and it's like, no, that's actually bad information that's going to hurt you.
Okay,
so.
also
you don't want to make yourself sick.
And that's a great point of either staying on property or good neighbor hotels that you were so close to the parks that taking a break, to me, is so much easier at Disneyland because you're not having to like hop on a bus that takes 30 plus minutes. Like you can just walk back to your hotel on your own terms, walk back. And so for me, like a lot of times, obviously traveling with 2-year-old, he does take a nap. We do take a break. I don't even always take a nap, but just like going back to your room and like it being quiet and
taking shoes off.
Also, okay, I should have known better, but like if you're from the South or from the East Coast, whatever, like it's chillier at night in California. Like it's different. Like for me, when I'm out there, like I need to change clothes between, lunchtime and nighttime. Like I can't, do shorts and a t-shirt out there at night. I get cold. So there's my tip. Put on your sweatshirt.
One of the next question was, what are the perks of staying at a Disneyland Resort hotel versus booking a good neighbor hotel package versus just booking another hotel near Disneyland? So are we talking about the packages exclusively?
Yeah. Do you want me to go over the tedious information with this? Okay. I will do that. Hannah could also help with it, but obviously the biggest perk, I would say, of staying at a Disneyland Resort hotel on your, staying there is the fact that you have early entry into the parks on select days. Yeah. With Disneyland, you have it on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays, I believe right now, and DCA on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And that early entry is for 30 minutes in advance, which I know it's like you think the same thing with Walt Disney World. How can 30 minutes really help you?
It's
an hour feels
deal.
like it would be better, but yes, 30 minutes is a huge deal, especially when you're factoring in at Disneyland, it's basically Fantasyland and most of Fantasyland plus some of Tomorrowland. And with that, with Fantasyland, when you realize every attraction is within about 20 yards of each other, that you can literally, you can knock out everything if you're very good and very quick. And
the tip, Peter Pan's flight. I don't know what it is. That thing always has such a long wait.
Yeah.
That would be the number one Fantasyland opening thing to do because even at night, it's still really long.
Yeah, you have to prioritize. Yeah. You have to get as close to the front of rope drop as possible. They're going to yell at you and say no running and follow the rules with that. But I say move at the same pace as those who are around you.
I say sweep the leg.
Yeah, well, that would also help you.
That's what strollers are for.
Yeah,
move
exactly. But yeah, get to the front, get to Peter Pan if that is a priority for you, and it should be a priority.
It should be. Yeah.
But that is the biggest perk. DCA is a little bit harder because like their attractions are all sporadic for it. It's not like a signature land is open besides Avengers Campus. You have Web Slingers and Guardians that are open in the morning, but then like Incredicoaster's early access, and I believe Soarin' is. So it's like all kind of like spread out in that way, but if you go to like Web Slingers right away and you have no wait, then you can go and get on Guardians before the regular guests get in.
Yeah, you get
two big attractions done right away, nice and easy. So that's a huge perk of Disneyland, staying at one of the Disneyland hotels that you have that. They used to, like back in the day, pre-COVID, it was if you stayed, I think 4 nights at a Good Neighbor hotel, you would get 1 day of early entry included if you bought the package with the tickets. And I could even be wrong on that, but it doesn't matter because that's not a thing anymore. So now you're the best part of a Good Neighbor hotel package is essentially, you can get a savings if you book the package, same way with Disneyland. And I know I've priced it out before. Sometimes like if you book the hotel only and then try to add tickets on, but you look at it with the package, it is a better deal being able to do it that way.
The package?
And
with the package?
Yeah. Like the trip that we did the run on, I had booked the Marriott Anaheim first for, it was like $1,500.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went to, once packages opened up, then I went back and looked at it, and I could have booked a package for $1,800, and that included 3-day tickets for 1 park each. And so only $300 more.
That's a big,
and that
big
price
savings.
dropped on the room, and I didn't do it. So then I put myself into a conundrum where I was, and then it just got worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. It worked out.
It all worked out, so it was all fine. But it actually could be helpful in that way. And if you already have an annual pass or you're buying tickets through a different method, however you're getting in, or it's like if you're one of those lackadaisical planners, all those hotels can still be booked. You can book any Disneyland hotel. You can book any Good Neighbor hotel. You can book a non-Good Neighbor hotel. Like we mentioned, Hotel Indigo. That is a boutique hotel, so it doesn't sell nearly enough tickets to be considered a Good Neighbor hotel, because that's a big part of what a Good Neighbor hotel is, that they sell a good amount of tickets. Yeah, if it was a bigger hotel, it definitely would be because of its proximity and how nice the resort actually is. But it's just like, just because it's not a Good Neighbor hotel doesn't mean it's a bad hotel, and they're all still very bookable. You can always find deals on them. So
can I throw out a counterpoint argument about the Disneyland Resort hotels, because I've only ever stayed at like on property Grand Californian Disneyland Hotel, Pixar Place Hotel. For me, like the hotels there, like I love the theming. I feel like the theming is maybe even more so than some of the Walt Disney World hotels. And then like the Pixar Place Hotel and the Grand Californian, you have a separate dedicated entrance into California Adventure.
Very true.
Which is, I mean, just insane. Like that is such a huge perk that, I mean, even like it's a bigger perk than being able to walk from the Contemporary to Magic Kingdom. To me, it's better, it's easier. And also those resorts, like I think they each have like unique selling points. And then for me, like I'm kind of like one of those people that like I don't like leaving the bubble. Like I've always been that person who like that is one of the things that I love about Disney World, Disneyland. Like I like to get there and just like shut it all out. So for me, those 3 resorts like do that for me. I also feel like the Grand Californian, especially like, yes, it is the premier property, it's a deluxe resort. They do things there that I feel like you only get like club level at Disney World, like little things, but like they do a turn down service and the toiletries are a little bit elevated. Like they'll give you extras and things like that. I just think it's a nicer deluxe resort than some of the ones that we have here. So I'm partial to them. That is an opinion. I also feel like the rates are better there. Like I was looking at Pixar Place for a client. Keep in mind right now that only half of the hotel is open, so the demand is high. It's a little bit more expensive. It's harder to get. If you look further out, you can get a room, $400 a night, which seems high. But when you compare it to spending $400 a night for Port Orleans Riverside any given day at Walt Disney World, I'm like, you have your own dedicated entrance into the park, amazing theming, like I think great amenities at the pool deck, and so to me it's like a no-brainer.
Okay, can I pose a follow-up question on this then?
Give it to me.
If you could So let's be frank, though. The
Yeah.
Disneyland hotels are
still be right now?
so expensive. You absolutely can.
Oh, okay.
They're expensive. Even if it's versus Walt Disney World comparisons, whatever. If you still look at it, there are not a lot of places where I'm willing to spend over $500 a night for a hotel room. That's
Right.
just because I am
Yeah,
also someone
I
who
said the
works
same
with a
thing
budget.
last
A lot
night.
of people are.
Right, sure.
However, if you had a choice between staying in a Disneyland hotel and you could only do a trip there once every 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, or you could go once or more a year by staying in a Good Neighbor hotel, which would you do?
100% Good Neighbor hotel for me. I would do anything to get to Disneyland Park. This is going to lead into our next question too. I do think there are some great hotel experiences just off property that are on that same kind of level. Like, yes, you don't have the dedicated entrance. I am going to say this about the Pixar Place Hotel too. I actually think the entrance that you're using from there to get in the park is better than the California Adventure one.
Yeah.
I timed it. I
California.
started timing it every time I went in there, and it never took me more than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm talking door closing in my room on the 10th floor to literally standing inside of the theme park. And it could, because it's like by the time you've walked to the entrance of Grand Californian, you're already in the theme park, like because you're going off to the other side. So I think it has a better entrance than the Grand Californian.
Yeah.
But
it all depends.
The
too.
Grand Californian is closer to the front entrance of the park, so if you want to zip into Disneyland, it's easier to do it that way.
And it also depends too. Like for the last time we had our Diz Unlimited event out in Disneyland, I think like 10 rooms down from the elevators that are closest to the entrance to
Same, yeah.
there. So I just went down,
Took like
and
3
then
minutes.
if as long as you weren't there at like open when it was the longest line.
So
That is a
period,
long
then-
line.
I always end
but-
up in those hallways where you keep going and
Yeah.
you're like, I must be going the wrong way.
You do have
know?
a lot.
Yeah,
You have a lot of bad luck.
I
with
don't
that.
know why. I always do. I
Yeah.
always end up in the farthest away I can get.
That's right. They're
the
like, we
one
heard you like
time-
Good Neighbor hotels. We're sticking you in the hall.
The one time I ended up in this like really prime room where I was like, we can look out and watch Phantasmic from this balcony. It's incredible. Craig was with me, and it was a
Wow.
king size
Color.
bed, and we had to go back down and switch the room.
Oh no, I would have been like, we're snuggling.
But then one of the questions that we get asked a lot, and that our Patreon supporter asked us.
Hang on.
Oh,
hang on.
sorry.
I want to hear Hannah's answer to my question.
Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Disneyland, and I'll say every 3 years. Disneyland every 3 years, and you stay on property, or a Good Neighbor hotel, and you can go every year. Which would you choose?
Just
I would-
once a year. Oh.
I'm gonna pick every 3 years.
Ew,
And I
gross.
know, and I
Gross.
knew that was
Gross.
gonna upset
She's
you
not a fan.
guys.
Don't listen to her.
So for me, we stay
not
at
a fan.
Pixar Place. I like the hotel a lot. Grand Californian for me is like top 3 Disney resorts, including Alani. Like that is a happy place for me, and so I would. Also, keeping in mind that I have Disney World in my backyard, I would do every 3 years because I am one of those people that I spend a lot of time at the resort. Disneyland, Walt Disney World, like I come and take a break. I use the pool. I eat at the restaurants. I go to the bar. I walk through the gift shop multiple times every day. Like the resort is part of the vacation for me. I understand how that may sound. I mean, not for everybody. But if you are a Disney purist and you're used to staying on property, I don't know that you're going to love being in a Good Neighbor hotel for your first Disneyland trip if you've never done it before. It might be a little just it's different.
I will give you that for the first trip.
First
it is
trip.
nice to stay at a Disneyland hotel on your first trip.
Yeah.
But after that, get
But
me
then it
there
ruins
every
you.
year.
Then
Get me
it
there
ruins
every
Guys,
you.
year.
I'm
So
sorry.
then what do you
I
do?
disagree with you guys.
I know. And I get it.
I do not think it is essential to stay in a Disneyland hotel for a first trip. I think it is nice. I'm not saying that's incorrect, but I think at Disney World, it's essential to be in a Disney World hotel. Otherwise, it's like a night and day experience versus like being in the property in your bubble or being at the Caribe Royale. And I'm not saying anything bad about that, but I'm just saying like have to go down 535. Well, I guess you're not going down 535, you're going down 417, but whatever. It's just one of those things where like we don't have that experience here of like being like it is another hotel that is just like right here.
Yeah,
like,
you can walk it. You're not like, I have to completely change
I
my
think it's nice, but if it's the thing that's keeping you there is the hotel, do not
I
fret.
get that.
You can have an
Yeah,
incredible
I
journey.
get that.
Because the Hyatt House has a lobby bar that I can use and a very nice pool.
I think that there are a lot of great options, and those will be what some people can only do with their budget.
Yeah.
And that makes sense.
And that's better than not going. I wholeheartedly agree.
I just know for me, my first trip there was in 99, and we were staying with my cousins who lived only about half a mile away from Disneyland.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have the hotel experience. We stayed at their house.
Yeah.
They dropped us off. And I remember the one time we got dropped off out front of Disneyland Hotel. And it's like, what is this mystical place? And as much as you love family, why can't we stay here?
Sure, I know.
When you see how incredible it was. And so then I didn't go back again until 2013, and my first trip was at Disneyland Hotel, and then it just it all clicked. I loved Disneyland on that first time, and it was a different park, a different style back then, so that also makes sense. But then it was I got Disneyland on a different level because of the experience staying there. But I'd rather go every year and stay at a good neighborhood. I would stay at the Anaheim Hotel if I had to, just to get back to Disneyland.
You love Disneyland. I totally hear what you're saying. I just, I've
slept
I hear you.
I've basically not slept
in
or
a van
been
by the river?
outside for the entire night until 6 a.m. for the ability to be able to go to the park.
Yeah, that's
there's a
pretty
lot.
cool.
There's a lot more involved in that story about what happened with that.
Post-show?
I know
I'm
that
kidding.
story.
He knows the story. But yeah. Anyway,
Disneyland is. I will say, Disneyland is a magical place. If you're a Disney fan, you should. If you've never been before and you're curious, and that's what's holding you back from going, don't let it hold you back from taking a trip.
here are some of our Good Neighbor hotel recommendations. These are the ones that I always check first time when I go there. Spring Hill Suites, for sure. I think these rooms are very large. It does include a breakfast, and it is right on the intersection. I can't remember the distance. It's less than a mile and it's literally out the hotel, across the street, right there. Boom, you're inside of the park, inside of the bubble, right there. I like that. I check that one. We always check Hotel Indigo. We talk about that one a lot.
Not a Good Neighbor, though.
It's not a Good Neighbor. Oh, I'm sorry. It was specifically Good Neighbor Hotel. Specifically Good Neighbor.
Yes.
The Hyatt House is a Good Neighbor, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we like the Hyatt House, but I find that one to be more expensive a lot of times than Spring Hill because you get the kitchenette, I think.
So I don't want to steamroll here. So I'm going to kind of go from closest to kind of go down that way.
Howard Johnson.
And I want you to jump in. Yes. So Howard Johnson is not the closest, but starting, if you're looking at Harvard Boulevard, Disneyland's kind of, it's in a bubble by 4 basic roads. So you have Disneyland Drive, Ball, Harbor, and Catella. Mm-hmm. And so I'm talking specifically the Harbor Boulevard hotels for the most part with Catella as well too. So starting at the top, you have Howard Johnson, Courtyard by Marriott, and the Fairfield Inn that are all like basically right across the street from Disneyland, equivalent to Tomorrowland. Mm-hmm. And I've been in all these hotels.
I've only stayed at Howard Johnson. Yeah,
I haven't stayed at
I toured the other ones.
Yeah. Fairfield, I've stayed there multiple times. I like it. It's usually a good price, and they try to keep the rooms clean and updated.
And so close.
If they are so close. I mean, and then too, if you're staying on a budget, there's Mimi's Cafe right down, Panera Bread that's right there, so you can always stop and get cheaper food there. I knew you'd like that, Rhino.
Mimi's, I love Mimi's. Muffins. They got good muffins.
And then going further down the road, the next one.
Green Cow.
The next one, I hate saying it, but Anaheim Hotel. Listen, it's cheap
Our
for a
experience
reason.
was just bad. That was all. I don't know that. Maybe we're gonna have to go back someday.
We went in the rooms multiple times for that 2022 D23 Expo. The rooms I still don't love. I love the entire resort.
What?
We had a friend staying there.
Who?
Chloe.
I didn't go in the room, just you.
You 100% did, but that's okay. I'm glad you can remember.
She came to our room a lot, slept on the couch one night because we had a Hyatt House. Anyway, go ahead.
That is also true. Yeah. But yes, so Anaheim Hotel, hate the rooms, love the property.
Love the pizza press.
You honestly, it's not a super expensive hotel.
Yeah.
So you're paying a lesser price, you're getting a lesser experience, but you're not going to it's not one of those things where it's going to scar you forever. Further down from that, Candy Cane Inn. I will never stay there because it is the only hotel that is constantly sold out for any time I'm going. So
they just remodeled too, I think. So it's like
I hear positive reviews from clients.
Everyone I know loves it. I've accepted the fact I'll never be able to stay there.
I think they even have a shuttle too, which is wild, right? Because you're like, why do you need the shuttle?
I mean, the art runs all up and down that road though, and that always confuses me. It's like you can just walk, and it's probably as fast.
And I know
as
some people, mobility issues, so it's not aimed at that because obviously that's a different experience. But it is you'd see it and you'd be like,
yeah.
Sure.
And so that takes us to that corner that Rhino started talking about, the Hyatt House Residence Inn and Spring Hill Suites that are all on the corner of Harbor and Catella. And all three of those, they're sweet experiences, not terrible priced. Totally recommend them. And you have Walgreens and CVS's right under there.
It's not as far down as I would want to go. I think it's a super easy walk. I felt like especially when we did the half marathon, I was like, it was perfect because it was right. Yeah. It was near where we needed to go up because if you don't know this, like right just a little further up that street there is the Garden Walk area, which has like a bunch of restaurants and movie theater. Oh, wait, is the movie theater there? No. Yeah, the movie theater moved there. And every now and then, D23 will hold an event at like the House of Blues that's up there or something like that. So it's like a pretty nice area with a lot of restaurants. So.
Yeah. So I would say give yourself 10 minutes because you never know how you're going to hit the crosswalks. And then 10 minutes to get to the Disneyland sign and then the Esplanade, 5 minutes to walk down and go through security.
Yeah, that's
give
great.
or take. So not bad.
Great.
And then just beyond those hotels, you have what I call the Convention Center Square. And that would include the Hilton Anaheim, Marriott Anaheim, and Sheraton Park. And again, they're not much for another 5 minutes to it, but
that's as far as I would go to in terms of walking.
Exactly.
That's where those when we've stayed in those hotels because of their location. Like I feel like when you make the turn or you have to get to the hotel, it's like that end of the night thing where you're like, I think I'm just going to take an Uber or a Lyft because it's like too much. It's just that little bit too
especially
much.
With a family. Like I imagine like, like my stroller, trying to get back, that would be, it feels far.
Yeah. And there are some that are also closer that I just don't have experience at yet that I don't want to necessarily discuss, but I would absolutely recommend based on their reputation as hotels. The Westin, every time I look at it, I'm like, again, I'll never be able to afford there. Like for D23 Expo, it's $750 a night to stay there a night right now. So I'll be visiting you, Hannah, as you're there. Thanks to travel.
Thank you, Walt Disney Travel Company. Yeah. Hey, and now I can talk about staying at a Good Neighbor.
Yeah, So you're just getting the fancy.
It's no Grand Cal. It looks really nice.
I've seen the photos, and I'm just like, one day I'll stay there. But so that is also highly recommended. The JW Marriott is just right on the other side of Garden Walk, and
I've stayed there.
Just the JW.
There. Yeah, or wait, is there a Hilton over there too?
I'm not sure, but I don't know if you stayed at the JW Marriott.
It wasn't this trip. It was. I remember when I went for my Power Ranger. The last time I went for my Power Ranger convention because I still had a Magic Key. Then I went. I was in Pasadena for that. I went to the convention Friday, Saturday, and then on Sunday afternoon I moved to Disneyland because I was with Jill and her friend Justin, and we stayed at one of the hotels back there because I rode the buses from the Toy Story parking lot for the first time ever.
Well, I'll just say this. If you stayed at a JW Marriott, you stayed at a JW Marriott.
Okay, I think it was the Hilton. I think it was the Hilton that was over there.
I don't believe
another
you
Hilton.
have.
Yeah.
But,
you're like, it was a Hampton Inn. My bad.
It was a free stay.
Different brand.
She paid for it.
But so those are some of them, and just a short list of other ones kind of generally around. Right behind the there's Homewood Suites that's across from the convention center that I haven't stayed at yet. I want to add that to my list too. I like Homewood Suites in general.
I do too.
So it looks really nice. Yeah, lots of
so much
aerobic
room for activities.
Exactly. We're right there together.
I call it dancing space.
Right behind the Hojo and that Courtyard by Marriott that I was talking about, there's a Holiday Inn Express Home to Suites and Hilton Garden Inn that look very nice, but the problem is I don't think there's a cut through their parking lot. So I think you have to walk all the way around, and that's what's always kind of held me off because I'm like, I don't want to add that extra walk in. I'm lazy ultimately, and beyond that, I wouldn't go any further out with that. But definitely,
is Portofino not a Good Neighbor hotel?
I haven't stayed there. And I have not toured it. So that's why with the list I came up with, I didn't want to put it on there.
I stayed there once. It was actually like kind of surprising. I was like on the first floor. I just remember there was like this gap on the bottom of the door that was like a little too much for my comfort, but it was an okay experience. I didn't remember disliking it.
That was a really good overview, though, because I do feel like that's one thing. It can be kind of overwhelming because there are so many options. Is like, I mean, yeah, like everything's walkable, but like, how much do you want to
My
walk?
tip on this, too, is pay very close attention to the names of these hotels because there is a Hilton and Marriott, and there are other Spring Hill Suites by Marriott. These other ones that have the same name. There's a Hilton, like, Garden... what's the other one called? There's like 3. So it happens all the time when you're searching on their website or wherever, the other one comes up that isn't the one that you want to stay at. So pay close attention to the name and where it is. Look on the map. Yeah. That's my tip for that, because that happens. I always accidentally almost doing it, even though I'll have put in exactly which one I want.
Yeah, you open up a second Google browser or Bing, however you like to browse, and put in the address and double check it on that map versus where it sometimes shows on even the hotel's map. Just make sure you really look at it. But that was a good overview, but a lot was talked there. Rhino, I feel like we have to do at least the last question because we've already alluded to it.
I do want to answer one more and then do the last one, if that's okay. Just because I have this general curiosity, too, because I've just had this experience.
Okay.
How far out can you book dining at Disneyland?
60 days.
60 days.
60 days. Okay. You know what's so weird is I don't know if it's just going to be incredibly busy when I'm there in 3 weeks, but I looked. Well, it's a month to the day, like 2 days ago, and I started looking like 5 or 6 days ago. So it was a little before the month, and there was no reservations for like any restaurant. And I was like, is it 30 days at Disneyland?
Nope.
But it's 60 days.
It's 60, and I have to say, even for our trip, last week, like I had similar experience because I think there aren't as many table service restaurants, and so they do seem to kind of book up fast, especially the more popular ones. So,
but they do have a lot of walk-up options that you can join standby lists and things like that, and I think that's the way to go. Will applaud them till the end of time for that, because I will never forget when my mother just wanted to go somewhere to eat lunch when she was here in like 2019, or it might have been the time before that. But it was literally like there was nowhere. They were like, no, you don't have an ADR. You don't have an ADR. You don't have an ADR. And we're like, can we put in a name in case somebody can't? No. And that was like right in that in-between time before they brought back standby lists and stuff. But
there was a sweet time, like pre-COVID, where Disneyland, like dining reservations, I feel like you always had luck getting in restaurants except for Blue Bayou, and then like if you wanted a Carthay Circle dinner package with something like, and then it's shifted now where it's like, I know that you can always get Wine Country Trattoria basically, but that's like that's it, and then random reservations at sometimes Carnation, but it's like that, it just feels like it's shifted so far. So anymore I'm like, you know what, Disneyland has such good quick service. Don't stress about it.
That's how I feel. I don't need a lot of table service. So the only thing that's disappointing is like I've not been sat inside at Trader Sam's in so long because of the new system.
I've done it like once.
Yeah,
I think one time.
That's when you make a reservation.
When I went last April, it was like I couldn't. You didn't. Well, even when you make the reservation, I don't think you can pick the inside.
Yeah, I think just go. No, you can. You? Just go early.
I've only done
when my parents went out there a couple months back, I told them like I put in a reservation tracker to try to get them one. Nothing ever popped up. Yeah. They just went at open and put in their name for the walk-up list and got sat, I believe, pretty immediately.
Okay,
and
that's good
got sat inside. So it's go.
I miss it.
You're always going to be luckier if you go early with stuff. I feel like or. Wait till the end. But sorry.
Well, okay. What attraction, show, or food do you wish would come to Disneyland from Walt Disney World and vice versa? Well, I've said it.
Fun one.
I've said it.
Okay.
I've said it over and over again. There is a Ronto-less wrap inside of Galaxy's Edge that uses, I believe, it is Impossible meat in it, and it has fresh jalapenos on it, and it is very good, and I enjoy it, and I wish they would make that version here. I know people are like, what about your mint julep? Well, they did bring a mint julep to the Magic Kingdom that was like a frozen one. And you know what? It's not the same. It's not the same.
No, it's actually, I specifically put down mint julep Indiana Jones Adventure and the Corn Dogs as not to come here, because I honestly do think that Disneyland.
Oh my gosh, I walked
because I was like,
that.
"There's
Get
no way
you
you were saying mint julep." I knew you were going to have a twist.
No,
twist there.
I double fisted mint juleps my last time there. I love mint juleps.
One?
I invited. No, I was still there for Huckleberry, so
I didn't want the mango one.
I
I'm so jealous.
I
went to Cafe Orleans so I could have bottomless.
I do love that, but
keep them coming.
There are things that Disneyland does need to keep just out there, so that way it's special.
Bring it on, baby.
It's special to them. No, I would love to have it here.
I don't want an inferior version.
It's special. It makes Disneyland more special and worth it traveling to me. I know there are the vibes of Disneyland that also have you going there, and there's so many unique little things about it, but for me, a lot of my absolute favorites are like, I don't want them here. I don't want it to feel like it's mass produced and too much. So my short answer is, what could we give to Disneyland that we have? And I think the one thing I would do is give them back Country Bear Jamboree, because they lost it for Winnie the Pooh, which was now I feel like it's a glow down. I don't know what they would say in terms of that. I'm not hip on terms, but that definitely feels like they lost, especially like if they country people want country bears out there. They put a Big Al statue in.
They did. I took a picture of it.
Area in California Adventure, and people lose
Grizzly
their minds.
Peak,
so like
I was like, "What are you doing here,
Big Al?"
Incredible. So like they want it.
Is.
I would love if Walt Disney World could gift that to Disneyland, and in return, what I would want is I would take Jolly Holiday and take that and plop it down where our Plaza restaurant is, in that entire area, and the Tomorrowland bathrooms. And then we have kind of that same feeling where they have Jolly Holiday on one side and then fried chicken on the other side.
Ooh.
And we would have Crystal Palace on one side
fried
and
chicken.
Jolly Holiday on the opposite side. And I feel like that would be a good trade. Or I would take Tropical Hideaway in Adventureland. That would be a good space. Or my last one, which is a big one.
Oh, you're talking about the one here. I want the one from Disneyland.
Well, no, that's what I would want them to give.
Okay.
We're giving them Country Bear Jamboree,
and they're going to give us
this stuff back. And the last thing I want is, we have Carthay Circle at Hollywood Studios. It's the gift shop right before you hit the Beauty and the Beast Theater. It's not Carthay Circle. Carthay Circle's at Disney California Adventure. I would love if they would demolish most of those gift shops and plop down Carthay Circle restaurant, and then Disney's Hollywood Studios would have two ridiculously good signature restaurants with two awesome lounges added there too, and that would make that park. I would take that park for dining over any other park. Right there.
Well, you kind of took my thing, because I literally did a Carthay. I did a Carthay. I did the lounge. I was saying in terms of like these walk-up lists and everything, which was crazy. It wasn't, and there's a video about it coming out. But I kind of accidentally, there were reservations day of for Carthay Circle, the alfresco dining, which is their lounge, which is basically just like a patio outside. They added like post-COVID. And it's great, shaded. It's nice. You get really classy cocktails, some great food options over there. And I made it, I was like, I don't know, like 6:30 is fine. And I forgot there was two parades, and you could sit and watch the parade from it. And so I got to sit outside and watch the parade on the patio, and it was all just
by Four Town.
One of those things. It was wonderful. And while I was sitting there, I was like, why don't we have this at Hollywood Studios? And I was like, well, I guess we have the Carthay gift shop. But no, I totally agree on all of those. In terms of like attractions, it's tough, because I agree with you where it's like, I don't want Indiana Jones to come here because I like it. It's special there. I said
buckle up
multiple times there that there's something really cool when you're walking out of Indiana Jones, when one of the Jungle Cruise boats is going by, you're walking out of that Jungle Cruise area. And then if you look up now with the new old version of the Swiss Family Treehouse, it's one of those things where I was like, man, you know what's crazy? People always talk about sightlines and all that stuff. And I was like, right here, these three things go together so well, but they are from just like completely different properties. But this fusion right here, just, I really feel like I'm right in the moment here. And then, and then you walk over and you're like, oh, there's Tropical Hideaway, and that's really nice too. Cool. It's a tough. Hannah, what do you have to say about this one?
All right, so I'll raise you one. People Mover should come back to Disneyland. I don't understand that. That makes me sad. That would be wonderful. I would, we like to get in heated debates about Small World all the time. You can take Small World where it is now if you give us a Disneyland Small World. I would even like to see, I know with that current space, you can't do that, indoor outdoor thing. What?
I thought about this. I thought about it, but I thought about it, but then I was like, I've already made my statement clear. I want Tangled to replace our Small World, so we don't need it.
Well, can we build a new Small World? Is that even more controversial?
I'll allow it.
I'll allow it, but you better watch yourself.
You better watch yourself.
Could we, or even, I love the addition of the characters there. I know that was controversial as well. In the words of the late, great Marty Sklar, it's not a museum. But I think that's great. I had a lot of fun. My son is at an age now where he could, point out the characters, and that was a special moment for me. You brought up fried chicken, and I gotta say, I don't know if y'all knew this, but I'm from the South, and we like things fried there. And the Disneyland fried chicken is, oh my gosh, good. And I don't understand it. To me, that's the best fried chicken I've ever had. And trust me, I've had a lot of fried chicken. So if Hoop-Dee-Doo could somehow snatch that recipe from Disneyland, from the plaza, that would be fantastic. I have spoken.
For me, I know this is crazy. I don't have children. I would like to see Toontown come back, and I would like to see it go to Hollywood Studios. And I think you could do it right in the middle of the park, because I love the idea that you could be like, okay, we are gonna rip down I'm gonna say it, we're gonna rip down the facade of the Chinese theater, and we're gonna make what's it called there, the El Capitan Theater.
El Capitan.
But also I would like then Animation Courtyard to become the rest of where Toontown is, because it kind of fits there. So even if you're not going to rip down the facade, put Roger Rabbit over there. And Roger Rabbit's original home was Disney's Hollywood Studios, so it feels very like it's meant to be there. So I'd like to see that.
You know what? I'll allow it.
I'll allow it.
You better watch yourself.
There's a part of me where I'd kind of like Incredicoaster to come here too, but take over Rip Ride Rocket. Jesus,
why not?
Yeah, go right ahead. Take over. Oh my God! What is the Aerosmith rock and roller coaster? As much as in my heart I would love that to be a Goofy movie roller coaster, I'm kind of like, there's a part of me where one of my favorite things out there, it's not even the coaster, it's just the cookie, num num cookie. I will never not love that part of that coaster. Also, there is one other question here. I'm just going to acknowledge it, but we're not going to talk about it. But there is, it's what attractions use Genie Plus at Disneyland Resort, and is it worth it? I did a very extensive video while I was at Disneyland, and I think you're going to be surprised by what's in it. I am naked. No, I'm not. I'm not.
It ends with expulsion.
Yeah. I will no longer be allowed at the Disneyland Resort. And I have enjoyed my time with all of you. Thank you. So I go over the rides that can be used in it in both parks and how much it is, and then the value per ride, and then you break it down from there and how to best use it and stuff like that. So it's going to be a long video. It's going to be an opus.
Can I tell you what I really want?
What?
I want a movie based on Club 33.
I think there was that one that came out last year with the elephant that had the diarrhea. What was that?
That's incorrect. But as we've been recording this, the Hollywood Reporter posted an exclusive that they are starting a treatment for a Club 33 movie.
Is it funded by Club 33 people?
I don't know.
Sounds like it.
So Club 33.
Oh my God, they're going to lose their minds.
Worked on by Darren Lemke, who worked on Goosebumps, the Jack Black movie, not the
good.
The show.
I like that one better than
the show. And he also worked on Shazam, and it's part of the Sean Levy, Dan Levine, and Dan Cohen production company, 21 Laps Entertainment, and it's supposed to be set in a fantastical world about the club. It's going to exude the tone vibes of Clue and Night at the Museum.
I was just
basically, it seems like they are. Oh my gosh, they have even more here. For Club 33, the story centers on Kim, a young aspiring detective living in a present-day New York who receives a mysterious invite to the highly secretive Club 33. In this case, it's a magical and exclusive dining club that exists outside of time and space.
Oh my God, is this
members
a Tomorrowland
are the greatest
sequel?
And most iconic members of the past. Jesus, royalty and history makers. When a murder is committed on the premises, the patrons look to Kim to solve it. So it literally is Tomorrowland with a murder mystery involved.
If it was April 1st, I'd be like, yeah, nice.
Yeah, instead of the pin, you have to find a doorbell to ring.
What and why not?
Why
have
is
it
New
take
York
place
City?
in New Orleans?
In New Orleans,
where they're gonna end up filming the freaking movie, anyways, if it ever happens.
Or Los Angeles, where I don't know. That's weird. That's weird.
Oh my god! I'm glad we could have this laugh right here at the end.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned for that video and that movie. That I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen.
That is going to do it for this week's show. If you are watching live right now, stay where you are. I don't know what you're doing.
Sit down.
Sit back down. And hang in there for the Patreon post show. That if you want to learn more about that, you can go over to patreon.com/DisUnlimited. Also, don't forget about Dreams Unlimited Travel when planning that next Disneyland vacation. Something I forgot to say during the show too is if you don't want to book a package, if you don't want to book the hotel, whatever, you can still book tickets for Disneyland through Dreams Unlimited Travel. And it costs you nothing extra on your trip. So, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
I'll even throw in some hot takes.
Can you say that again?
I'll even throw in some hot takes.
There you go. I felt like I didn't use enough slide whistle in this episode, but dreamsunlimitedtravel.com, free no obligation quote today. And if you are still watching this on YouTube, well, hey, the three of you. If you want to, don't forget, give us one of these guys. Thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the bell. If you are listening to us, hey, I see you too. Not literally, so don't be scared. I'm not in your back seat if you're listening to this in the car. Or am I? Anyway, when you got time, feel free to rate and review us. That would be wonderful. Maybe even say nice things. You don't have to, but I'd like it. Remember to submit your catchphrases in the YouTube comments as well. And at the end of the show, I'm going to read them with your phrases for the future. So this week's comes from Zach Douglas 6647. So that's going to do it for this week's podcast. We'll see you again soon with another episode of the Dis Unlimited podcast. Too many words, too many podcasts in here. May all your days be magical and all your dreams unlimited. I'm going to go take a shower now.